And welcome back to the show, everybody. Excited to be down in the state of Florida now for the start of the Florida Swing and the PGA Tour. It starts at PGA National. It's the Cognizant Classic. Then we'll head over to Bay Hill for the Arnold Palmer Invitational presented by MasterCard. Then it's up to Ponte Vedra for the Players Championship, and then down to Palm Harbor, which is Tampa, for the Valspar. It's 4 fast weeks on the Florida Swing, but it's great to be down here. Spring training baseball, lots going on. And since we're in Florida, it's just a hop, skip, and a jump. Actually, just a hop from here to Casa de Campo down in the Dominican Republic. We introduced you to this property last week on our show. Many of you already know about it. The golf is spectacular, and when you mention Pete Dye's name, you know you're going to have a fun layout. We talked about the Players Championship. Of course, that's one of Pete Dye's gems. Gilles Gagnon is the man who was on property at Casa de Campo back in like 1980 when they broke ground with Pete Dye, and he's been down there, a Canadian, French-Canadian forever. He's the Director of Golf Emeritus. And Gilles, first off, it is great to see you on the show. I look forward to when we meet in person. But how are you, sir? It looks like the weather is fabulous in the DR.
Well, you know, it's always fabulous in the DR. Thank you for having me. Very happy to be with you and meet you. And, you know, the Dominican Republic's an amazing country, and the weather is 85 degrees and sunny right now. It's been like this every day. And, you know, you tee it up about 1:30. That's my life. Work in the morning, tee it up at 1:30 every day, and try to beat my age. So it's a pretty good life.
Yeah, it is a good life. You know, it's interesting, and I was doing research on your background. Like so many people, French Canadians, you grew up playing hockey, came to the United States at Michigan State to play collegiate hockey, wound up at Colgate University on the coaching staff, and then lo and behold, Gilles, somehow you worked your way down to the Dominican Republic, and you've never gone home. I mean, that's the Cliff Notes version, but that's kind of how it happened, right?
Well, I was kind of at too many speeding tickets in upstate New York, so I wanted to get out of there. No, I mean, you know, I became a golf pro, a luck thing. The golf pro had retired there at Colgate at Seven Oaks, and, you know, I said, oh, you know, I was a decent player, so I wouldn't be embarrassed as a golf club pro. And I took that over in 1975. A good friend of mine, the golf coach at Michigan State, Bruce Fossum, was the chairman of the NCAA, and he came down, and I introduced him to Seven Oaks, which was the first course designed by Jones and Robert Trent out of Cornell, but he didn't build it. He designed it. And excuse me. And you know, I brought the NCAA in '77. Scott Simpson won his second NCAA in a row, and you know, in 1980, somebody told me there was a job in the Dominican Republic. They needed it for a golf director that spoke, you know, some language. I spoke obviously French and then English, and you know, I applied for the job, and they didn't give me the job. They gave it to Bill Coore, and Bill Coore, because Pete Dye wanted somebody, and you know, to take care of his golf course.
Right.
And Bill Coore said, you know, I don't want to be a golf pro. He said, I want a design course. So they picked the little shortest guy in line. That was me. So I came down here in 1980, and I've been here ever since.
Wow, an amazing story. And of course, that's Crenshaw and Core now, and they've designed so many courses and redesigned. Obviously, Pinehurst #2 is right up there on the top of their list. But Gilles, take us back now. You meet Pete Dye, and this was back. I mean, he was building some pretty fancy, unusual golf courses that some people raised a few eyebrows, including TPC Sawgrass, which is now an absolute gem. I mean, it has matured into this incredible course. But what was it like first meeting the great Pete Dye, one of the great golf architects in the history of the game?
Well, we became, as you know, we became very good friends, and his ashes are here at, you know, on number 8 at Casa de Campo. And it was pretty, you know, interesting because, you know, I met him the first time, like you said, you know, he was starting to be a little controversial type of thing, you know, and that's skipping a little bit, but we watched the first TPC here in the Dominican Republic. We ended up getting a satellite because there was no TV there.
Wow.
And he was so nervous. He thought, man, if the wind blows, these guys are not going to finish. You know, that he knew that he was on the edge. But, you know, Pete Dye was, first time I met him, he asked me if I knew anything about agronomy or anything like this. And I told him I was on the Greens Committee at Colgate. And he said, well, obviously you don't know anything. You know, that was his deal. But, you know, the man was really an unusual person, first of all. You know, geniuses are always a little different, obviously.
Yes. Yes.
So he would see things that nobody, you know, would see. And he was so generous with everybody. And he loved to talk to people. You know, he used to say, "Hi, I'm Pete Dye," you know, that type of stuff.
Yes.
And people would say, "Really, that's Pete Dye?" You know, khaki pants, muddy boots, and a, you know, white shirt and a hat from Casa de Campo all the time. That everybody, Herb Kohler was always mad at him because he was wearing, you know, teeth of a dog. And
Yes, he was.
yeah, and he had a patch sewn in the back of his hat there to the lady here, the little because he didn't want to have a sunburn on the back of his head. But he was, you know, the other thing, he listened. You know, I mean, he listened to Alice Dye. Obviously, we all listen to our wives.
Right.
He listened to her in terms of when tees we put, you know, yeah, those tees are too far back. You know, the ladies hit it 150 yards. Let them have fun. Move the tees up. And, you know, 17 at TPC, supposedly it was her idea.
It was.
But,
right.
you know, he listened. I didn't know, you know, the thing with him is I would go out there, we'd play golf, and we walk when we played the other golf course, and there was always, you know, I couldn't see it. You know, I mean, my imagination, when you're in the middle of a bunch of trees and, you know, you're looking at nothing, and he kind of looks at his topo map, you know, and he could say, well, we'll put the hole here and there. And, you know, and I've said that many times. I'd say, what am I doing? I can't see anything. He'd say, well, take some notes, and if I fall down, you pick me up. And that was basically it. But he was so nice to me right off the bat. You know, he was always, hey, listen, you're going to need me, you know, and the old famous, you know, you build it, you know, I'll build them, you bring them. So his job was to, you know, take care of the golf course with the superintendent, and my job was to try to bring people to come and play at Casa de Campo, which we end up doing a pretty good job together.
Well, you have. You know, I'm fascinated by this, and we could talk for hours, but to think what the property looked like, the jungle, the forest, even though it was right there on the cliffs, and you have all these fabulous holes to look down at the river and the ocean at Casa de Campo, to think what it was and what it is now. And Gilles, I mean, again, we talked about it last week on the show, Teeth of the Dog, which many consider the creme de la creme, and it's undergoing a restoration now. The Links, the Dive 4, the La Romana Country Club, these are all Pete Dye designs. I mean, I can't wait to get down there. I mean, there's really not a bad course, is there? I mean, they're all good. They're all fun to play.
You know, the other thing is that's really amazing about these golf courses that literally every single nine is a different experience.
Huh.
All 4 90 holes of golf, you know, all the different nines are all different. So, for example, Teeth of the Dog, you get to the front nine, you know, if you slice the ball as a righty, you're doing pretty good. The ocean's on the left, you know, and when you play the first few holes, you know, you could bail out right. When you get on the back nine, the ocean is to your right. So slicing, you know, getting some little slice is not so good. But so that's, you know, you got the ocean and the, you know, the beauty. Then you go to the Links, and the Links is probably the hardest golf course we have. Not because it's tight, not anything, but the greens are all the way, you know, he sets them up, you know, there always seems to go away from you. They're not, you know, directly looking at you. They're sides. And if it's 120, let's say to get to the front of it, and the pin's there. If you go 115, you're down, it's tough to get it up and down. And then the front nine has no water, and they get to the back nine, and we have 5 holes that are around, you know, man-made. Then Dive 4, you get, again, to the front nine, you're looking at the river 300 feet above, and you got the marina, you see the ocean. You get to the back nine, again, you know, over the river is on the front, it's to your left, on the back is also to your left, but you're looking at the mountain in the distance, and, you know, the wind blows huge fairways, huge greens, because of the wind, obviously. And La Romana is you know, there's no water except on 18, you know, but again, you know, the houses are on top of you, you know, there's enough space. You always, you know, a lot of space in a lot of places in the States. If you're a developer, you know, they want to get as much land as possible to build homes on. But here he had the freedom to make the space. So when you're looking, you know, you're not looking, and, you know, you're looking and you feel like somebody is in his, you know, on his porch is looking down at you or something, you know. And the homes are 2-story. The homes that we built, no, they're not higher than 2 stories. So, you know, the top of the roof. So it's really, you know, you can see the ocean almost all the time, even if you're not on the ocean. So every single nine has a different character and personality.
You know, it's interesting, Gilles, because when you and Mr. Dye broke ground. You came up with this grand idea, and you started building the golf courses. You know, there really wasn't an airport close to Casa de Campo. I think the nearest one, Santo Domingo, I think it was maybe 2.5 hours away in a car ride. But now, obviously, the airport is literally right across the street. How difficult was it 40 years ago to get people to come down and to sell them on this idea that the DR was going to be a really special place to come, bring your family, and if you're a golfer, it's going to be incredible?
Well, everybody we brought down here were pretty stupid, actually. You know, to take that death-defying drive from Santo Domingo. I know when I arrived here. By the way, I wasn't here for the construction of Teeth of the Dog. That was in 1970 and 1974. I was there for the other two.
Okay.
All the other holes. But I remember getting here and landing in Santo Domingo and taking that drive. You know, and I thought, where am I going? You know, through lane. If you miss a donkey, you probably would hit some chicken or something. I mean, it was really amazing. But then you got here, and obviously you got onto the property. We had about 150 homes, and you had a hotel. You had a couple hundred rooms, and the Lago Grill, which is right there on the tee. So, you know, there was no television, no radio. You know, radio was the local radio, which is not like, at the time I didn't speak Spanish. So it was very primitive. But you know what? It's kind of like now when, say, they built Sand Hills Golf Club. You know, that was the first out of nowhere, right? Funny enough, my daughter, my youngest daughter, who was born here, is now the charge of finance, and my son-in-law, Cameron Warner, is the director, you know, of the assistant manager there.
Right.
Takes care. But you know, that's another thing. You land in Omaha, 5 hours. You land in Denver, it's 5 hours. They're in the middle of nowhere. So Casa de Campo was, you know, when they talk about that place being the first, we were the place where people really wanted to come somewhere, you know, to have the courage to get on the plane, fly to Santo Domingo, country that was Spanish. You know, people didn't speak much English then. 2-hour drive to the resort, you know, and people, you know, were always worried about getting sick or anything like that. But it was just a quiet place. People were wonderful. They still are, but it was wonderful. You know, it's the old days. You could go to the little town there and you could leave your wallet on the bench and you come back there later, it was still there. You had a flat, they help you. And the mentality of the people hasn't changed. It's just that now we have 2,500 homes on the property. We have 90 holes of golf. We have a huge marina. We have, you know, I don't know, 15, 20 restaurant. We have a grocery store, you know, a gas station. You know, it's 7,000 acres, like a little city. So, you know, so it's changed. But the great thing about Casa de Campo is the ownership have done to keep the tradition and some kind of the sanctity of you know, that's a big word for a French Canadian, but you know, of Casa de Campo. You come here and it's still, you know, people remember you when you've been here before. But yes, coming in 40 years ago, let me tell you, that was an experience. But then, you know, people would get in like at 10 o'clock at night in Santo Domingo, drive in the dark, and they didn't know where they were going. Then we'd unpack the bag at, you know, 11, 1 o'clock in the morning with the staff, teaching them how to put numbers on bags so we put them at the right place, and then load them up in the morning, and then people would come in and went, wow, you know, that was it. It was literally like, wow, what is this, you know? It was breathtaking. It still is to me. 44 years. You get on that tee, you get on number 5, and you look at that little par 3, and it's breathtaking every single time.
You know, it's an amazing story. It really is. And I interviewed Mr. Dye many, many times over the years, especially as we played his different properties on the PGA Tour, but always around the Players' Championship. And he always had that Teeth of the Dog hat on. He really did. It's funny. The first time I interviewed him, and I might have even asked him about it, but he was very proud of that property, Gilles, as you know. He wore that hat. He wore it out. It was one of his favorite hats.
But, you know, this was just a pile of rocks, basically. You know, I mean, it was all coral. They had to bring all the topsoil and stuff like that. Even now, as we are renovating the golf course, you know, we're basically taking a couple inches off all the fairways and putting sand and stuff, because we were so close to the coral that it became, right now, you know, still very difficult to maintain. You know, Nunez Malena has been the superintendent here. You know, he was trained by Pete Dye, Dominican, you know, and done a great job over the years. But it became impossible because it was so compacted, with the golf cart and stuff. So it was a great decision. But again, it takes a lot of courage for an ownership to say, we're going to give up all this income. Plus, some people say, well, we're not going to come teeth of the dog. Well, we still have Dive 4 links, beautiful weather,
Right.
great restaurant, wonderful people. The weather's perfect every single day. Even if the teeth wasn't there when we started, this would still be a pretty amazing place. So, most people what I do now is obviously put groups together and bring people and continue to do pro-ams. We had 52 teams in each one of the pro-am. We have 20 this week here and without the teeth of the dog right now. So,
Right.
It was, like I said, I don't even know why I decided to make that decision. That could have been the dumbest and the smartest decision I've ever made at the same time, but I don't regret 1 minute of it, I can tell you.
Yeah, I can tell. I can hear the passion in your voice. And again, I interviewed Jason Keycheck last week, who's obviously a very important figure there at Casa de Campo, and he said, you have to get Gilles on. He knows all about the history, and I can't wait to see in person and talk more about it and have you back on the show. Hey, I have to ask you this. I mean, obviously you're a proud French-Canadian. As you watched the tournament last week, Canada versus the USA, I know you watched it, the hockey game. Great game, by the way. How proud were you of Team Canada pulling that out, or were you just watching as a hockey fan going, it was a great game?
Well, you got to remember, I was born in Canada, left when I was 19 years old, went to Michigan State, was in the United States from, 1969, where I was at Michigan State, played hockey there, then went to Colgate. I have, 2 beautiful daughters, and they have 4 grandsons, all American, and I'm very, very proud that because I love Canada and I love the United States. They gave me an opportunity, and obviously I love the Dominican Republic. That's where I am. Like you say,
Right.
I'm a man of all country or no country. But, the thing that I was very proud the way Canada played, but I was also very proud the way United States handled when the national anthem was in Boston Garden. I think the American fans were really, really classy, and the team played extremely well. I was a little disappointed about in Montreal, but that's the competition plus politics and all that stuff. So for me, you know what? It's Canada, United States. I watch a great game, and I was really cheering for. I could not decide who I wanted to win, to be honest with you. And then it was a great goal, and it was by the best hockey player in the NHL or in the world right now.
Yeah.
So it was great. It was true they were there. I hope this was a great idea. I hope it continues to play. And eventually, maybe when the world is a little more at peace, maybe you put the Russians in there also. They got great hockey players. Let's be this game like all about the sports. Let's take all the politics out of that and just let's go play hockey. This is what it's all about. And it was just, whoever came up with that idea was just a wonderful idea. I watched every game and loved it.
Yeah, I mean, it was brilliant. It was a brilliant idea, and anybody who was kind of a fringe hockey fan, and we have millions of those in the United States. I mean, even though we have all these franchises in the NHL, but it turned so many fringe fans onto the game, and it was fabulous. And Gilles, I have to ask you this, because over the years of my career, I've covered hockey. I've played golf with hockey players. They love to play golf, and that slap shot motion, all of them hit it a country mile. I think it's just a natural move, as they go through the golf ball. But what is the love affair with hockey players and golf? I mean, it is solid. It is really something to see. And 100% of these guys I play with, they love the game of golf.
Yeah, it's funny because now, like Ray Allen, basketball player is, we're friends, and he comes down to Casa de Campo. Every year he has a tournament that he brings down here. And a lot of basketball player, football player, I think athletes now realize that game is like, we're so competitive, right? And you never could get control of that game. You think you got it now, and you think you got it, and then it disappears. And then when you don't have it, then you think it'll never come back, and it comes back again.
Right.
So, yeah, and the other thing is, people wonder why so many left-handed Canadian. Well, when you play hockey, you will use the stick. You will hold on to it with your dominant hand, obviously. For me, it's right hand, right?
Okay.
I'm not going to put the stick in one hand on my left because my right hand is my dominant hand. But when you play golf, then or any other sport, baseball, my left hand comes on the stick below. So I became a left-hander. I'm a left-handed golfer, but you're absolutely right. It's the slap shot motion. So eye-hand coordination, the puck's going, 100 miles an hour all over the place. That little ball sits there. And it's like, winter, summer, they go from the contact sport to now it's still contact, but with a golf ball. Frustrating as hell. And, I'm 76 years old and I play golf every day. And, I love the game. And I encourage my grandkids to start to play now. And as I encourage parents to say, hey, get that kid into the game. They can play football's great. My grandson played football in Nebraska. But you can't play football at 76. You've got golf. Right. You could play until and the hockey player. It's kind of similar, like you said. You hit it perfectly. Slap shot motion. That's what it is. And instead of being 4x6, it's only a little,
right.
a little harder to hit the corner there.
Yeah, no, it is amazing, and I've had some of my best times on the golf course with hockey players, guys who played in the NHL or maybe the East Coast Hockey League as I've traveled around the country, and it's just great memories. I'm looking forward, though, to more memories at Casa de Campo. Gilles, we appreciate the time. We're going to have you back on the show. What would be your suggestion if you had a group, and I can't wait to go down and meet Ray Allen. He's one of my basketball guys, too. What would be your suggestion if somebody wanted to plan a trip and bring a group of people down to Casa de Campo to play golf for 4 or 5 days in a row? What's the easiest way to get that done?
Well, we have different, obviously, salespeople type of thing. And,
sure.
We do golf. But so basically what we do here and what I do now is we customize a trip. Yeah, we have packages you get online and things like this. But
sure.
So if they email me and, get my email and I contact, and they say, okay, how many people you have? Yeah, 8. Do you want to stay in a room? Would you like to share a villa? How many rounds of golf you want to play? How many you want to play tee? Dive 4 links. So we customize, and we have this wonderful food package, food and drink package that is so, if you have a couple drinks and breakfast, it's so really worth taking. So you put all that together. So the only thing you do is you land here. You don't have to worry about anything except, the caddy, which you have 1 caddy, 4 caddy per foursome. That's mandatory, $20 a man, and you take 2, it's 25. And they do a great job. They know the greens and things like this. And so that is the way to go. You call or you email me and, we'll put something together as long as you'll get it before 1 o'clock. After 1 o'clock, I'm on the golf course. Just remember.
You'll get back to him, right?
Yeah, 24 hours, I'm right back at it. But yeah, I bring a lot of people here at Pro-Am, and that's what it is. Customize. If just 2 people you get on our reservation department, they do a great job. They'll book you. But if you get 4, 8, 12 guys or whatever, that's the way to go because we'll customize exactly what you want.
All right. I'm looking forward to it. I may be coming down with wife, daughter, and friends, so I may be a solo, Gilles. You may need to put me into a foursome somewhere. Can you handle it?
Well, maybe put you in a twosome. You and I, we could play 13.
There you go.
Hey.
I like that.
Hey,
I like that.
18, that's just, when you get on 18, when you play tee, you get on 18, you're really sad every time because that's your last hole that you will continue on. But you're happy that you have the opportunity and the experience of the tee to the dog or any of our golf courses. So when you come, let me know. We'll tee it up.
Gilles, looking forward to it. Thank you for the time today, sir. Keep up the good work and enjoy the round of golf today.
Oh, yes. I'll be there in a little bit. It's perfect right now. Take care. Thank you so much for having me.